Well, hello everybody. I'll be speaking in English if it's okay for you. Anastasia can translate some words in Russian if needed. So basically, we both work for General Inspection, which is a unit inside Société Générale, which is a French banking group. So I'll start maybe with a short presentation of myself. So basically, I graduated from a French school 5 years ago. Then I did a master specialization in engineering school, and then I did a specialization in finance and in commodities, so oil and gas commodities. And then I integrated Inspection Générale of Société Générale, and I'll explain why later. And maybe Anastasia, if you could present yourself.
So I graduated from Guillemot 5 years ago with a bachelor in economics, so MEL, and then I studied finance at a French business school, HEC, and I joined the inspection 2 years ago. So that's it.
Okay, so what is general inspection? So basically it's a little bit special, so it's very particular to French banking groups. So we have, as in every bank, we have audit, but we also have general inspection. It's a little bit different because general inspection is a mix between advisory and audit. We work directly with the top management of the group, and we do assignments. Also, one thing that is very particular about general inspection is that we get recruited on a specific, I would say, assessment center or assessment. And so basically every year we recruit 40 people from all over the world. So basically we are here today in Moscow, but there are similar presentations in Amsterdam, New York, Paris, in a lot of cities in the world. We have more than 25 nationalities within general inspection, so we are a group of 150 people, approximately 40 every year as described here. And so we do assignments all over the world. So Société Générale is a banking group that has many subsidiaries, mainly in the big financial centers, so New York, Hong Kong, London and Paris. But we also have a lot of retail banking in Africa, and also in Russia with Rosbank, that you might all know. So basically we spend almost 40% of our time abroad. So basically we are not in Paris, but either in, I don't know,
just for example, right now we're on an assignment in Moscow, so we decided to take the opportunity to come and talk to you. We're abroad right now. Yeah,
and also one thing I did not mention is that if you have one question, please raise your hand and we'll answer it. So basically, it's a pool of young people. So we are all young. The average age is maybe something like 27, 28, and we are like in this specific fast track, I would say, to become manager within the group. So this is the peculiarity of general inspection. What you do at general inspection? So basically, as I said before, we do assignments all over the world, so it can be on every kind of topic. It's often decided by the general management 1 year ago, and basically they say, well, next year we want you to do one assignment on, I don't know, commodities, one on IT, in Rosebank. I want you to do one assignment covering all this entity, for instance, in Cameroon, in Africa. So basically, we do a lot of assignments. In addition to these, I would say, classical assignments, we have other assignments which are very special because it's dedicated to identify and building a case in fraud. When someone from the group performs a fraud, then we build a special case on him to have disciplinary actions against him. So this is another kind of assignments we do. And a third kind of assignments is when we work on the acquisitions and mergers, or we work on the assessments on when we want to sell, for instance, a subsidiary of the group. So these are the three main types of assignment we would do. For the first one, which is like a classical assignment, for instance, to review the IT in Rosebank, as we are doing now, it can be 4 to 6 months. For something dedicated to fraud, it's often 1 month, and for assignments when we are working on acquisition, then it can be 1 or 2 months. So we change subjects all the time, so that's why it's really interesting, and we are not like specialized in one kind of subject. I would say it's not a financial market for one guy and a retail banking for another guy. It's like you do everything during the course of your work at General Inspection.
Yeah, that's actually something that's very special, because, for example, if you go to work in internal audit, you are typically specialized in one particular topic, like IT or like financial markets, which is also great in a way because you get to grow in this particular field of expertise. But you pass on the opportunity of seeing some other stuff happening around you. So that's nice.
So it's quite a demanding, rewarding, and empowering job. So we are constantly challenged, as I said, because for instance, you can start a subject you know nothing about, and it's not a problem. In fact, what we seek at General Inspection is to find people that are able to learn very quickly and very thoroughly on different kind of subjects. So basically, you will start an assignment on a subject that you don't know. After maybe 1 or 2 years also, you'll be able to supervise people. So start a little bit to learn about how to manage people, which is really important today. And also what is really interesting is that as we work for the general management, then we often meet with them. So basically, our work is composed of 2 main tasks, I would say, from a day-to-day basis. So one is to do meetings with people, interviews, like you go to an interview and then you ask questions to, first of all, better understand the business, second of all, to challenge the people also, make them think differently. And this is the first part, and the second one is you're trying to go on the internet to find other sources of information. You're working on databases to perform analysis. And all of this, in fact, allows you to produce a report. And like the final objective is, it's very commonly said to produce value, but in fact it's to be able to engage some change in the organization. Then maybe we'll speak later about the path, because in fact you start after your school, and there is a dedicated path in 6 years, which has some specific milestones. Yeah, exact. So maybe we'll speak of that later. And so when you finish an assignment, you issue recommendations. So basically you say, you should do that to improve, I don't know, your NBI, your income, or you should do that to reduce costs, or you should do that to reduce the risks of your business. And then after that you follow the recommendations, which is kind of nice, because usually in advisory, what you do is you come, you do the assignment, you write a report, and then at the very end, you do not follow what is really done by the business. Yeah, one other thing is that As I said, so we are not specialists, we are very generalists, we need a lot of trainings, and that's, I would say, one of the key things that helps us to better understand all the businesses we work with in our assignments. So at the very start of your path, you will be given something like 3 months of trainings. So if you don't know anything about banking or financial institutions, well, you will learn during these 3 months. So basically, we'll spend time with the retail banking guys, like in the branches, for instance. We spend time also with professors that explain to us how works the accounting, things like that. It's very well. For instance, me, I didn't know much about financial services, and I learned everything in general inspection. And so this is at the beginning, and then every year you get to have something like 10 days, I would say, of trainings about a lot of things, soft skills, hard skills. So it's very empowering.
Yeah, we did some programming this year in Python. It was quite cool. Also. And there is a strong focus right now on everything linked to big data. So we have on our assignment, so we are working as inspectors, but we also have people that are data scientists to help us analyze the databases, produce some analysis, and it's a growing thing within inspection. And well, the last thing, which is really important for me, I think, is the fact that you get to spend a lot of time abroad. So I'll present that later, but I spent time in Milan, in New York, in Geneva, India, well now in Moscow. So that's very, very interesting. The compensation also is very attractive. We tend to align with our competitors. Well, we think that the people that is similar to general inspection would be BCG, McKinsey, or some consulting firms like that. So we provide good compensation for that, and it's growing gradually during the 6-year path in general inspection. So basically, you get to earn like 10% every year. So it's significant today. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, you work with auditors, specialized auditors. For instance, now I'm on an assignment here in Rosebank, and I have 2 IT auditors under my supervision. You also work with data scientists, which is helps you to improve your management skills in every context. I don't know if you have questions yet, maybe? No? Maybe later? We're counting on you.
Yeah. Okay, so I was talking about the path in general inspection. So after you get to enter the general inspection, you start as a deputy inspector. So when you are a deputy inspector, basically you're working under the supervision of a head of assignment. So this lasts for around 3 years. So I entered almost 3 years ago. So now I am at the very end of this segment, I would say, and I'm head of assignment and managing people on my assignment. So after this, if you successfully pass your mission as head of assignment, then you become inspector, and then you gradually gain in a managerial role, and you get to be the head of several assignments after that. And after that, if you want to continue after the 6 years, you can become what we call a principal inspector. Principal inspector is someone who is the head of several assignments at the same time. and is supervising the head of assignment. So he's based in Paris, and he often comes, like I would say, for instance, in Moscow or other cities to just check on the teams, understand the main topics, and also be in touch with the headquarters in Paris. So it's more the link between the assignment, the head of assignment, and the headquarters. And after these 6 years, or 9 years if you choose to become a general inspector, what I said earlier is that it's well recognized within the group. So there is a lot of former inspectors working in the group, and so it's a way to become to choose your next position within the group, which is really interesting. You can have multiple kinds of what we call sortie, is when you finish the general inspection. For instance, I think that some of the people in the management board in Rosebank, they are from a general inspection, or some people working in financial markets. They can be, I don't know, either engineers, traders, or head of desks. So that's very interesting. Please feel free really to interrupt me if you have any question, or if something that is said is not very clear. So this is the classical path, like 6 years, and after that you find a job within the group. So Société Générale is really big, so it's quite easy to find a job. So quickly, how does an assignment work? So basically, we start with a diagnosis, which lasts around 3 to 4 weeks. So what is a diagnosis? It's a time during which you try to understand and learn the most things about your topic. So for instance, the topic is IT in Russia, and then you're not an IT specialist. So what will you do is that you sit side by side with an IT guy, you ask him to explain what he does, you try to better understand all the challenges that he faces, you speak with the management also to see if he has a strategic vision of his activity. You also try to speak with people in headquarters to understand what is their vision of the activity abroad. So this is one period during which you try to understand what's going on, and you define what you will do after that. So after that you do the audit work and the analysis works. So basically, it's analyzing databases, again speaking with people to understand their business, the specific cases, and this is the longest part, in fact, because what is really important for us is to provide reliable data in our assignment. So basically, we spend a lot of time to ensure that even if someone says, "Oh well, it's I don't know, the cost of this thing cannot decrease because it's incompressible," then we are going to challenge that, and we are going to ask, but are you sure? Is it really true what you are saying? So we spend a lot of time to challenge what people say to us, and then after that we write a report. That is sent to the general management, and we debrief also all the people involved in the assignment. So basically, for instance, if your assignment is on IT in Russia, so you will debrief the CIO, Chief Information Officer, the people working in the business, so the CEO also. You will debrief also the management of the IT department. So this lasts around 2 to 4 weeks, and then after that you give some time to to the department you were auditing. You give some time for them to make an answer to your report, and after that you follow the recommendations. So this is a classical assignment for a classical type of mission. Okay, so basically, yeah, I was saying that it's very different from like the audit we can have in most financial institutions, because we both have the audit work and the advisory. So that what makes the difference. And in fact, in most French banks, we have this kind of model, I would say, in all the biggest banks. It's because, well, basically it's something from the administration in France. The administration works a little bit like that. There is what they call a corps d'inspection, general inspection dedicated to the administration. So that's why most French banks have this kind of model. Yeah, it's really interesting because you get to understand and well know a lot of subjects. For instance, I had an assignment on tax. I didn't know anything about tax, but at the end of the assignment, I could analyze one tax setup in the Bermudas, for instance, quite well, in fact, and that's the point that is very interesting. Another thing, I don't know if it's written here, but is you get to manage people very early. So, for instance, I'm only 27. And I'm already managing 7 people in my team, so which is a very good occasion. Okay. For the rest, do you have anything to add?
No, no, so far.
So maybe to give you some examples of assignments.
It doesn't show very well.
Yeah, it doesn't show very well. So basically, in red, it's all the assignments. So we do a lot of assignments in Russia, basically, because Rosbank is the largest retail banking subsidiary of the group. So lots of assignments in Russia. Like I would say there are like 2 to 3 every year. So Russian speakers are welcome. We have also some assignments in I would say paradise destinations such as New Caledonia. But it's not very often. I would say it's one every 6 years or something like that. So you have to be quite lucky to be on one of them. Lots of assignments also in Africa, because we have a lot of subsidiaries in Africa, and of course lots in France also, because majority of the group is located in France, mostly in Paris. All the assignments are mostly in Paris, and also in Western Europe, London, Luxembourg, Geneva, all these countries, and also in Americas. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So my personal experience in general inspection. So I started in 2015. I started with first assignment in Italy, in Milan. So the subject was very new for me, because I didn't do any banking before. So it was about real estate credit risk. So we spent 3 months analyzing the credit portfolio of one subsidiary in Milan. So basically what does that mean is that you try to understand if a client is reliable or not, in terms of credit rating, in terms of reimbursement, and that was my first assignment. Then I did a specific investigation on a fraud in the French retail banking network. So this was a very short 1 month. After that, I made an assignment which was a full review of the tax setup of the group. So basically, I mostly worked on corporate banking, on the financing and the market activities on this one. So it was really interesting. I was in Paris and Luxembourg. Then I did another assignment mostly on corporate and investment banking, and specifically on financial markets, about the business introducers, so third parties that you pay to get you some deals. And for this, I stayed in Paris, but I also went to Geneva for 1 month, a few weeks in London, a few weeks also in New York. And after that, I did an assignment on fund administration. So basically, these are the people who manage all the administrative work of the funds. And for this, I went to Luxembourg and India. So 2 cities in India, Chennai and Bangalore. And then a specific assignment on fraud in Geneva. And now, since September, so I'm the head of one assignment in Moscow, dedicated to the IT of the subsidiaries of the group in Russia. So, well, maybe Nastya?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously my list of assignments is quite a bit shorter because I've been only here for 2 years now. So after I did these 3 months of intense training in Paris, I went on my first assignment, which was actually in Russia. It was lots of fun because we tried to understand the commercial strategy of Rosbank, and we traveled quite a bit in the regions, in Ural, in Sibir, and I interviewed something like 30 or 40 retail branch managers of Rosbank to understand really the client portfolio and the potential of the bank in the region. So it was quite interesting. Then a completely different topic, which is more to do with corporate and investment banking. So export finance, which is the financing of some really big contracts of exporting machinery and industrial equipment, well, mostly by French exporters to some high-risk countries in Africa, for example. By high risk, I mean high credit risk due to some political instability. And so I'm focused on stuff like compliance and operations. And then this year, I was in Bucharest, and then I was in Prague, and I was discovering some really interesting things about cash. Because basically, when you come to an ATM and you use your cards, and you get your 500 rubles, you don't see this really heavy infrastructure behind that, because someone has to process it, someone has to transport it while ensuring the security of the cash. So I worked on the commercial strategy, and since September, as David mentioned, I've been working on his assignment here in Moscow.
Thank you.
And recruiting part?
Yeah, important part. Well, I don't know who wants maybe to try to join general inspection, who would be interested. Some of you maybe, yeah? So basically, the process is very transparent. It's not. It's as I said, an assessment. So basically, first your profile. Yeah. So basically, every young graduate with a master's degree can apply to general inspection. And what does it imply? It implies, in fact, we need to be mobile and to be able to move from one destination to another, very quickly. So that's that's one constraint, and you need also to want to be in very diverse environments to work. So that's another constraint.
Yeah, if I can just cut in, so I would also like to stress the fact, as David mentioned previously, you don't have to know the financial services industry, because it's something that you'll get an opportunity to learn about on the job. But I mean, of course, it helps if you already know stuff. And also I know that you guys are doing the Russian-French dual masters, so I would assume that many of you speak fluent French, so it's helpful too. But speaking French is not a prerequisite when you apply. In fact, every year there are some people who don't speak any French at all when they arrive, and then the group provides them with some really intense one-to-one trainings in French. So I would say it's more challenging, but it's a great chance to learn a new language. But even if you don't speak French when you arrive, you kind of commit to bring your French up to operational level quite soon, because most of the management guys are French, and it's a French group, so that's logical.
Even abroad, in fact.
Yeah.
But as Anastasia said, there is specific programs to help you learn French before you start your trainings in general inspection. So I think it's 1 month or 2.
Yes.
In a family in the south of France, so French family. And basically, you get one-to-one lessons every day to improve. So the process, so it's quite simple. In fact, you have so first of all, you must apply online before the 3rd of December. Then. Around mid-December, you have some online tests. So it's I would say it's some kind of basic tests to assess your personality, and also some logic tests, which are, I remember it was not very thorough. It was a good sense.
Well, it's I guess a standard test that's used for consulting or IB jobs. So. FMCG jobs.
Yeah. And then after that, we select some persons, and these people are invited to come to Paris to the assessment centers. So it lasts from during all the month of January, and you get to do some. I don't know if it's still the case this year, but you had some escape game.
Yeah, it's on the
to assess you. You have also HR interviews. You have also written exams. All of that can be done in English, I think.
Yes, basically when you apply, you choose whether you want to apply in French or in English if you feel more comfortable. It doesn't put you at any disadvantage. And I just wanted to say one thing that's obvious, but I think it should be said, that of course whenever you travel to Paris for an assessment, your traveling and your accommodation expenses are covered by Société Générale.
Yeah. And after that, so here there is a selection, here also, and after, so if you get selected here, you get to pass what we call a grand oral. So it's an oral exam. Basically, you are alone, and in front of you there are 5 or 6 people from the general management of the group, and you get to speak about one topic. So basically, just before this grand oral, they give you a subject. You have something like 30 minutes to prepare, and then you present and answer the questions of the people in front of you. So it can be either the CEO of the group or some people from the board of directors. It can be a large variety of people. And then if at this stage you get selected, then you have the final job offer, again in Paris. So you come back to Paris for this step, and you can start either in September or in January of 2019. Yeah. So do you have any question maybe on the process, or any question, you feel very free to ask us questions. We were also in school 3 years ago, so it's very unofficial, I would say. If you have any question, we are very free to answer. Yeah. Thanks.
Do you have a part-time job, like for students?
Nope.
No?
Sorry.
Part-time. Yeah. Because you're still studying then?
Yeah, I'm a fourth-year student.
Ah, okay. Basically, this is for this happens every year, so you can apply next year if you want. When will you finish your studies?
This spring, from next spring, maybe 2019.
Ah, okay. But you can start the process, and then so basically the job would start in September of 2019 or January of 2020.
Yeah.
I can apply even if I don't have like master degree yet.
Ah, yeah, sure. Yeah, you can apply even if you don't have it yet. Basically, what we ask is you to have it when you start the job only. But yeah, you can apply now. No problem.
So talking about the recruiting process,
yeah.
It's a very long journey. Can we cut it?
It's already gotten shorter as opposed to what we had before. Well, basically, since we're trying to source, in different countries, in different backgrounds, and it's a very competitive position. It takes some time to interview all the candidates.
Yeah. But I would say maybe every year there are 3 or 4 people from Russia, no?
Yeah, I'd say that the Russian community, among the internationals and the inspection, is one of the biggest ones, so Russian mafia and stuff. And interestingly enough, actually there are quite a few people from GIMO every year, so it's one of our target schools.
Yeah, I have. So Anastasia and someone else, Igor, which are both on my assignment, they came from GIMO. So.
Yeah, I went to MEL and my colleague went to Mo to study Chinese, but now he's with us.
Yeah, and yeah, it's quite a long journey, but in fact this doesn't take much of your time. This neither. I think these are the two more demanding, I would say, phases of the recruitment process, as you need to go to Paris and it's an opportunity to visit Paris also, I would say. But
yeah, just keep in mind that you don't have that much time left.
Yeah, only 2 weeks, 1 week, no, less than 2 weeks, 1 week only. Any other question?
Where we can find the link for this test?
Online, so basically you just have to go on the website, so inspection.sociétégénérale.com, and really feel do not worry a lot about this online test, because it's not very difficult at all, and most people pass the test. It's
and on that page you'll basically find all the information about the dates for different stages and so on.
And you can also find more information on the assignments, what we really do, if you want to have more information on that. And so basically every year one principal inspector is in charge of the recruitment process, and this year it's Aurore Gamblin. So you can contact her, or you can also contact Anastasia or me, or people that are from GIMO and that are working now in general inspection to ask questions.
Yeah, it's easy enough to find on LinkedIn.
And yeah, there is a group, web page dedicated to general inspection recruitment on LinkedIn, so if you want you can join or add Anastasia or me to ask any question you might have. Other question? No? Yeah.
What kind of sources can you recommend for preparing for tests, for applying? I mean, maybe some books, some lectures,
To be honest, I wouldn't really worry that much about the tests. I mean, the online tests.
Maybe about like next steps.
Yeah, about the next steps. Well, just some, very general advice, like have in mind how to present yourself, so to explain why you're a good candidate. Make sure that you know some, general information about the group, about how it's organized, some key financials, like what are the assets, where is it present, how it compares maybe to some other banks. So really do your homework. And be able to present your motivation, like why you want to work.
Yeah, one thing which is quite specific to general inspection is that we see people that are eager to learn, so you don't have to have a lot of knowledge already, but you have to be eager to learn, and also as you get to meet with managers very quickly, then there is a strong focus is on the humility.
Good question.
Or in Russian you can say.
I don't know how to say it.
Being
humble.
Being humble. This is really important because in the HR interviews or even during the escape game, basically the people will look at if you're humble enough, but at the same time if you are able to communicate your ideas. Yeah. That's the main thing. So I would say the main qualities are human or soft skills.
Mm-mm. So teamwork is also very important when you do an escape game or some case study. Be also attentive. Not just try to show off your ideas, but also be attentive to the people who are in the same room as you and who you're competing with. But
other questions? Very free, huh? Yeah.
Day, and maybe do you have some communities inside Société Générale, and maybe you have some clubs and so on, social life inside your company, maybe some cooperative events, and in order to make your atmosphere in the company
similar.
So basically every year we have one seminar with all general inspection. So we spend 2 or 3 days together doing team building activities such as lab. Also you have the training. So when you do a training, in fact, as you apply to general inspection, it's a defined process. So every year you get to know your promotion, I would say.
So it's like a class.
It's like a class. So basically it's people that were hired at the same time as you and who do the trainings at the same time as you. So basically there are often afterworks during the trainings because you are with all your friends that were hired in the same time as you. And also one thing is that as we are small teams all over the world, basically, if you get to be, I don't know, in South Africa with your team during 5 months, then you will be going to, I don't know, to a sports game or to bars, to restaurants with all your team. In fact, we often go to restaurants, clubs, or things like that here in Moscow. So basically, your team, because you're far away from everybody you know, your team becomes like a small circle of friends. So that's the great thing. And yeah, you get to spend like something like.
How do you choose your further destination?
Well, you don't choose.
So you don't choose?
No, you don't choose. Basically, what can happen is that so you finish your assignment, and maybe 5 days before it finishes, the manager calls you and says, in 1 week you will be in South Africa. So prepare your bag and go.
Yeah.
So that's I would say a constraint, but at the same time it's quite funny but yeah, that's you don't choose you don't choose the subject or the destination, but you can.
Well, you can express
you can express
preference,
some preferences.
but you can't be very specific. I want to do this and I want to go there. So you can say, I'd like to stay in France because I need to deal with some documents. Or you can say, I'd like to do something on compliance, but then you don't know where you're going. And,
but you can express preferences and say, for instance, well, it's been a long time. I've been in Paris. I want to go abroad. Then for the next assignment, can you think about sending me abroad? But you don't have any. It's not like mandatory for them.
It's not automatic. No.
Yeah.
Okay, last call for questions.
Good.
Okay, yeah, I think we're good.
Thank you.
And
So basically, keep all this information in mind, and this is the most important, I would say. The link to apply to general inspection. Thank you very much.
Thank you.